Hello, world. Welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so great to be with all of you today. It is Thursday, April 2nd, right here in Crazy Town, USA. Of course, I'm Shannon Joy, and we're going to go through the news today. We're broadcasting live on Rumble. We're live on Twitter. We're live on Spreely TV. Also, Substack and Facebook and YouTube. Inez Annie Cyrus is producing the SJ show today, and she's keeping an eye on all of the live chats. So if you're watching on YouTube, Substack, or Twitter, make sure you say hello and leave a comment, question. If you have anything you want to say, Annie will pop that into my chat here, and I can say hello to all of you. Of course, the most amazing, feistiest live chat of all the live chats is right here on Rumble, where we have Mark the Regan, Buskman, Ollie Robin joining us on the live chat. Ralph the Flying Dutchman, once again, is the very first live chatter today, and it is great to see you, Ralph. I'm so glad to see you on the live chat. If you're brand new to the SJ show, make sure you say hello on the chat so that I can say hello to you. Of course, we're live daily, Monday through Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern time, but we usually start about quarter after. And we have a big show for you today. You see the headline of today's show, 2 weeks to flatten Iran. That was essentially the sentiment of Donald Trump's address to the nation, prime time last night. Everyone was waiting with bated breath, anticipating what is the president going to say to Americans. And really, it was much ado about nothing. It was typical Trump, a lie about this, a lie about that, largely uneventful. We're winning everything. We're the best at everything. We're the biggest winners ever. The stock market is better than ever. And it's the golden age. I'm the best president in the history of the world. I mean, one lie after another, one whopper after another, with a straight face, delivered prime time to Americans across the country. I didn't watch it. I took a peek at the transcript and looked at the overview. And really, the only thing that stood out to me, as you can see in the title of today's show, is the rhetoric and the likening, right? 2 weeks, right? Everything's going great, but we're not quite there. It's going to be 2 to 3 weeks before we absolutely annihilate Iran. In the meantime, short-term pain for long-term gain. Interestingly enough, he did not talk about widespread energy lockdowns and shutdowns here in the US. This is diverging from the other major global political leaders, the Prime Minister of the UK, the leader of Australia, leaders in India, warning their citizens to brace themselves for energy shocks. You're going to have to change the way you travel, change the way you cook, change the way you use electricity. You might have to postpone that airline flight, like a whole list of new government imposed restrictions for populations in response to the war in Iran and the closure of not just the Strait of Hormuz, but other critical supply line areas, right? So Trump didn't go there last night, and I found that to be interesting. Meanwhile, we're seeing headlines across the US that states are beginning to try to impose some of these restrictions. And I think it's just a matter of time before Trump becomes convinced that the crisis is so great that we need to now begin to impose energy lockdowns, restrictions, wage and price controls, you name it, everything is on the table. Maybe Tucker Carlson will get into his car and drive to Mar-a-Lago to convince Trump to shut down the United States of America because of the war in Iran, in the same way he did in 2020. But the similarities to 2020 are there. And I think most Americans are bracing themselves for something bigger to come. Now, we can fight against that. We can mitigate that. Some of their grandest plans, the most evil of their plans, they would like to implement And they would like us to think that they're inevitable, that there's nothing we can do to push back. We learned during the dark days of COVID lockdown and the rollout of Operation Warp Speed and the killer jabs that we could thwart so many of their plans with grassroots, bottom up organization, resistance, refusal to comply, peaceful disobedience, and everything but the kitchen sink. State legislation, federal legislation, court cases, lawsuits, revolt from the bottom up. There are so many tools in our toolbox. And we realized during that time that they were incredibly effective. And many of the plans that they had in place for us in the post-pandemic era of lockdown after lockdown, forced masking, one new COVID shot after another, new fear campaigns to lock us down again, none of them are working. None of them are working. In fact, 90% of Americans are refusing COVID jabs, which is evidence that we won the narrative in the dark days of COVID. This piece that I linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show reiterates that sentiment. Pfizer is now, we're going to get into this in a minute, but Pfizer and BioNTech have halted U.S. COVID vaccine studies after recruitment struggles. This is from Reuters. Vaccine maker Pfizer and BioNTech halted a large-scale U.S. trial of their updated COVID-19 vaccine in healthy adults aged 50 to 64, saying enrollment in the trials has been way too low to generate the needed data. That is huge. That's a huge story. Because the people who enroll in clinical trials, these are the cultists. These are the diehard, trust the science people, the ones who locked down first, wore 7 or 8 masks over their faces, and tried to force everyone to take the poison shots. Like, these are the people who love the science. And they can't even get them to engage or enroll in the clinical trials. So this is evidence and proof that whatever they're planning for us, whether it's an energy lockdown or a lockdown because of a super scary worldwide pandemic, we can push back. And I just wonder if we didn't front run this. And when Trump's advisors and the people who wrote his speech realized how ready we were for them to try to lock us down again, decided, maybe we won't include that in the address, right? So there is so much we can do. And that's why you guys are going to love today's show, because we're going to talk more interesting, by the way, than Trump's 19-minute address to the nation last night during primetime was the Easter prayer breakfast that he held with some of the craziest lunatics and I think demon-possessed evangelical Christian pastors we've ever seen. It was full-scale bizarre. Paula White, Franklin Graham, these are Trump cultists. They're not Christians. They are absolutely false teachers. And I think some of them are frankly demon-possessed, including Paula White. And I have some video for you guys to see today that we're going to get to in the first segment of the SJ show, because that's just Crazy Town, USA. Crazy Town, USA. These people are insane. But later in the program, we're going to introduce to you a new guest, Levi Leatherberry. And I love what Levi is doing because it plays into my philosophy of, bottom up, decentralized resistance to unconstitutional, immoral, and illegal laws, executive actions, mandates, you name it. Levi talks about bottom-up resistance and organization, and he's doing that through the lens of civics and politics. And you guys are going to want to hear from Levi today. We're going to talk about answers, fighting back, winning, getting rid of the megalomaniac madmen who occupy Washington, D.C., both Democrat and Republican. The only reason that I am scrutinizing Donald Trump today is because Donald Trump and the Republicans are the people in power. When Biden and the Democrats were the people in power, we scrutinized them every day on the Shannon Joy Show, because here on the SJ Show, we are not left or right. We're not Republican or Democrat. We just look at everything independently through the scope of the Constitution, our Judeo-Christian values, principles, and just plain old common sense. It's very hard to find that in media today. And I very diligently try to maintain that position, a position of independence and indifference to both political parties. What I love about Levi Leatherberry is that he maintains that position as well. And he's doing the hard work of trying to organize individuals locally across states, across the United States of America, to take back our power, to decentralize power out of Washington, D.C., where they've lost their damn minds, and into the hands of the people at the local level. It's backbreaking work. And Levi Leatherberry is doing that through his party, We the People. And so I can't wait to talk to him just a little bit later on the SJ show. So we have a big show for you today, but huge BioNTech and Pfizer ending their clinical trials. It's absolutely amazing. I have another piece in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show, and this is fantastic, on the data centers. Remember the doctrine of inevitability. The big tech giants are coming for you. The robots are going to take all of your jobs. AI is going to be God-like, sentient, and superhuman. It's going to erase humanity. We're going to become completely obsolete, says Elon Musk, and there's nothing you can do about it. Bullshit is what I said to all of that. We like technology. We'll use some of it if it benefits humans, but their doomsday scenarios are meant to do one thing. They're meant to depress you and throw you into a state of anxiety and put you in a position of fear so that they can come in and use their machines to try to control you. And as humans, we should just say no to that. So this is an awesome headline from Bloomberg. America's AI build-out hinges on Chinese electrical parts, and they're struggling to get those parts, right? Here's from the report on Bloomberg. As the global AI race heats up, okay, there's a huge rush to build data centers fast, and we've all experienced that. And the data centers, by the way, are a disaster. That's going to be a heavy focus of the SJ show moving forward. We have some special guests that I'm lining up, experts in this area that are resisting in towns and villages across the country and organizing people to resist the data centers. So this is going to be a big deal. And so they're trying everything to get these data centers built. People are resisting it everywhere. And what they report here in Bloomberg is, get this, almost half of U.S. data centers planned for this year are expected to be delayed or canceled. One big reason they say in Bloomberg is the shortage of electrical equipment like transformers, switchgear, and batteries. And these are necessary for powering AI equipment and also building out the grid. But I have a feeling they don't want to report this in Bloomberg because, as we know, Bloomberg is a captured organization. But I think it's more than just difficulty in getting the parts. I think it has to do with massive pushback from regular people, Democrat and Republican, old, young, male, female, black, white, you name it, across the country. We don't want their damn data centers, and they can get the hell out. And I think it's great. And we're going to be talking to experts who are organizing citizens across the country to push these data centers out of their communities. So there is good news out there, and all of that good news is coming from outside of Washington, D.C. That's why I always advocate that we train our eyes outside of the drama of D.C., even though it is like, it's hard to look away. It's like a train wreck. Like, you can't stop watching it. It's like reality TV. It's so bad that you just have to keep watching. And that's what we saw in the East Room at the Easter brunch or the Easter breakfast with Donald Trump and his spiritual advisors. It was crazy town, absolute crazy town. And we're going to look, come on, we got to look at some of these videos because there has to be some entertainment value of this show on a daily basis. And we're going to bring that to all of you. So I do want to take a moment to take a look at the live chat. Annie is keeping an eye on the live chat on all of our, on the Substack and Twitter. And so she's going to pop up any questions or concerns, but I want to say hello to all of you. If you're on the Rumble live chat, please say hello. Let's see. Proctor Surf is with us on the live chat. Hey, Ollie Robin 9, great to see you. We have Mr. Worthless Eater joining us on the live chat. Guitar Lily has this to say: Even the lefties are against these data centers. How crazy would that be? If I have to go and march and protest with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, on the streets of New York to push back these data centers. You know how I am. I'm going to align with anyone who's in a truth space. I don't care what your political affiliation is. If you are in a truth space and a principled based space, I'll align with you. I have no problem with it whatsoever. Bloomberg is more like Doomberg, said Mr. Worthless Eater. I agree with that. Proctor Surf, spot on about the fake Christians. Oh my goodness. There are so many bold faced, heretical, fake Christian leaders out there. It's like, I mean, whack-a-mole with these people. You take care of one of them like Paula White and another one pops up, and all of these insane preachers who are bastardizing scripture and basic Christianity in a profound way, they're the ones who are surrounding Donald J. Trump and telling him that he's like Jesus Christ and treating him like some type of savior. It's absolutely crazy. And you just need to omit them because, and I'm going to present some of that to you today because it is, I mean, nutty, absolutely nutty. Guitar Lily says, hello. Who else do we have in the live chat? Anyone new? If you guys are watching on Rumble and you're new to the Rumble chat in the Rumble stream, say hello on the live chat because I want to say hello to you. Ooh, we have Strident Conservative with us. I'm just glad that DeSantis renamed the Palm Beach airport after a convicted felon and pedophile. That would be the President Donald J. Trump International Airport now. Thank you very much, David Leach. It used to be the Palm Beach International Airport. I didn't know that Ron DeSantis had anything to do with this, Strident Conservative, but I'm kind of irritated if he did. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's a new movement now to take Trump's name off of everything that he's trying to name. Oh my gosh, what do we have now? The Gulf of America. That's not really after Donald Trump. So we have the Donald J. Trump International Airport. We have Donald Trump's Hancock all over the US dollar bill, which is interesting. And it's just on and on. It seems that like the more this guy gets pushed in a corner because he's going crazy, the crazier he goes and the more things he tries to like stamp. It's like he's peeing all over the area to mark his territory. That's how I liken this. And Strident Conservative says Ron DeSantis signed the bill into law. Unbelievable. Ugh, unbelievable. Listen, I like a lot of things that Ron DeSantis did during the lockdowns of COVID. He was one of the only guys to even stand up against it a little bit. But more and more is coming out of the DeSantis administration that I'm just not a fan of. The speech laws that favor AIPAC and Israel. He continues to keep the mRNA shots on the market. And this latest, I mean, the sucking up to Donald Trump, I just don't understand it, man. Donald Trump's brand is sinking. How do these Republicans not understand that like Trump is the Titanic on the ship and he's losing all credibility whatsoever? He's about, I mean, Alex Jones has even told his audience to cut bait, that Trump has lost his mind, he's crazy, and we now need to pivot and move on. So why someone like Ron DeSantis would engage in a stunt like this makes no sense to me whatsoever. I have no idea why he would do it. And I'm not a spokesperson for the DeSantis campaign or for his governorship. You'll have to ask him himself. But I don't like it, David Leach. I agree with you. The Trump Kennedy Center. Yep. Trump all over. Hey, we have on X Purple K. This is why I love you, Shannon. Truther in truth and through. Oh, truth or truth and through. Oh, truther through and through. There. That was a tongue twister. Hey, Purple K, glad to see you on X. Appreciate you. If you guys are watching on Substack, I'd love to say hello to you as well. So we're going to get to some of these videos in just a moment. But first, I think we're going to go to a quick break. Please remember the advertisers for the Shannon Joy Show. Of course, we're so thankful for Peter Schiff over at Schiff Gold. We're thankful for our friends over at The Wellness Company. We're thankful for Don Polano over at PCM and Associates, and our friends over at the Satellite Phone Store. Sat123.com/joy is the website. These sponsors keep the lights on here at the Shannon Joy Show. And so if you're in the market for any of their products or goods or services, please make sure you use the Shannon Joy URLs, our landing pages, and also those Joy promo codes. That's how they know we sent you. So with that said, we're going to go to a quick break. Then we're going to hit some of the craziest videos of the Trump breakfast. And then in just about 10, 15 minutes, we're going to bring in Levi Leatherberry, a brand new guest on the Shannon Joy Show. And we're going to talk about resisting, revolting, bottom up, outside in, not left, not right, not Democrat, not Republican, just plain American civics. We, the people, taking back our country. That's what Levi is working on, and that's why he's going to be a guest on the Shannon Joy Show. And you're going to leave this show today feeling very optimistic and empowered about what we can do. So we'll be back in a moment on the SJ Show. And today I want to talk to you guys about ivermectin. I'm using their ivermectin cream right now, and it has been a lifesaver for rosacea. I haven't been dealing with acne or anything like that recently, but as I've aged, my skin has gotten bumpy and red, sometimes itchy, and I've been dealing with rosacea. The ivermectin cream from TWC is absolutely knocking it out. In fact, it started working within a day or two of using it, and I have not had any problems since. You know, if you think you're dealing with bad skin as an adult and acne, you might be dealing with something else, an untreated root cause. And it starts small. If you're like me, it's a little redness, a few bumps, and then it expands, and then it becomes consistent and persistent. You go through the cycle of doctor appointments, trying to figure out what's going on, one product after another, and you're not alone. So 25% of adults struggle with acne, and more than 14 million Americans battle rosacea. 1 in 10 people suffer from chronic dermatitis or eczema. So these are not just cosmetic issues. They itch, they burn, and they crush confidence. And I have been dealing with this for many years. I can't believe how well the ivermectin cream works. It's called Clear Skin Ivermectin Cream from the Wellness Company. It's a dermatologist-designed prescription formula that targets the root cause safely, gently, and under the skin. So it helps to clear your clogged pores and brighten the skin. It reduces inflammation, and it helps control bacterial overgrowth to calm in irritation. It's amazing. I love this product. You can have it too. Go to twc.health/joy. That's twc.health/joy. Use the promo code JOY. You'll save $20 off plus free shipping in your first for your first order. So that's twc.health/joy. twc.health/joy. And let me tell you, it doesn't help. It doesn't help to have to be on the video every single day. You know, I used to be a podcaster, and that was great. I could come in my pajamas with my hair everywhere, don't have to do hair and makeup. It was just audio, radio, and podcast. And ever since platforming out to all of these video platforms, it matters a little bit more, and you want to have that confidence. I want to have that confidence. So I'm super thankful to the folks over at TWC. The ivermectin cream is an absolute miracle worker. So thank you to the Wellness Company and all of our sponsors here in the Shannon Joy Show. At 123.com/joy, everything that you're going to need for preparation: generators, solar panels, Faraday products. If you want to disappear and protect yourself from the surveillance state, they have an entire line of amazing Faraday products called dark bags. They're always 10% off at the Satellite Phone Store if you go to sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. The Satellite Phone Store has supported the Shannon Joy Show for many years. They are amazing partners, and let's help the companies that help keep the lights on here at the Shannon Joy Show. So if you are in the market for any of their products or services, make sure you use that promo code JOY and go to sat123.com/joy. That's sat123.com/joy. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. Before we get to the insane videos from the White House breakfast with evangelical advisors and spiritual leaders with Donald Trump yesterday, I do want to talk a little bit about ivermectin parasite cleanses. At the Summit for Truth and Wellness that we just concluded a little over a week ago with Dr. William Makis and also Sasha Latapova, there was a lot of discussion about using ivermectin to cleanse, to do like a parasite cleanse and to do that once a year for not only people who were at risk for cancers, but also people who had beaten cancer. But they were also talking about people who were not at risk for cancer, just, the benefits of a regular parasite cleanse every single year. And this was based on science. A big medical hack of 2025 was actually several peer-reviewed studies, and they are identifying direct connections between anti-parasitic medications having off-label benefits fighting a wide variety of cancers. And this makes a lot of sense. The connection between tumor growth and parasites has been known for years. Now, the CDC remains silent on this, but Dr. Peter McCullough, Chief Scientific Officer over at the Wellness Company and the world's most published cardiologist, says these studies make a clear case to do at least one medical grade parasite cleanse every single year, not just to combat cancers, but a whole host of health issues. So the Wellness Company has put together a proprietary USA compounded ivermectin and menbendazole doctor prescribed combination dose, and this is designed to help the body eliminate parasites plus other incredible benefits. So each bottle contains 90 capsules, and this is enough to complete one 21-day cleanse each year. So it's a very high strength formula. You cannot find it at a local pharmacy. This is not a supplement or something that you can get online. This is prepared by the Wellness Company, and they can remove the red tape by making the process fully digital. So it's super easy. You fill out a quick intake form, a doctor reviews it, and your medical grade parasite cleanse arrives in just about a week. So this is a way for you to reset your health every single year. This is the best in the market. And if you go to twc.health/joy, that's twc.health/joy, and use the Joy promo code right now, you will save $60 off your medical grade parasite cleanse plus free shipping. So it's a great value. You can only get it at twc.health/joy. And make sure you use the Joy promo code every time you shop at the Wellness Center or at the Wellness Company, because you are going to get that great discount. They always have discounts and specials for the Joy audience. All right, guys, let's get to, I told you I was going to tell you all about and show you how absolutely crazy. I mean, I got to tell you, Donald Trump's address to the nation prime time last night was rather benign compared to what we saw in the East Room on Capitol Hill with a variety of spiritual leaders and advisors, and just a full-scale bizarro presentation. Attendees included Reverend Franklin Graham, Pastor Paula White. She's actually Trump's longtime spiritual advisor and head of the White House Faith Office. And this has Christians across the country up in arms about the frankly heretical rhetoric that we heard at the Easter lunch in the East Room. And so I want to start, Annie, with some of the videos that we have linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. And I'm going to go into this in more detail tomorrow for our very special Rumble Premium only Bible study that I do on Friday mornings around 9 a.m. with all of you. It's for Rumble Premium members. And we go behind the Rumble Premium paywall and we do a little Bible study. Right now we're in the book of Daniel. And I will speak to this a little bit more tomorrow, but I'm very concerned. I mean, these people are insane, absolutely insane. And they are surrounding this president, and it was evidenced by this bizarre Easter luncheon. And so I'm just going to play these for you so you guys can take a look at what went down there. But, we saw Trump compare himself to Jesus Christ. We saw Paula White compare Trump to Jesus Christ. We saw Paula White tell Trump in the audience that the Holy Spirit came down and told her that God told her to thank Donald Trump for everything that he has done. And it's just frankly insane. And you'll see how insane Paula White is. I think what she's doing is blatantly demonic. And we're going to run some of that video today so that no one gives any credence or credibility to these spiritual hacksters that are surrounding this president. It's very disturbing. Let's take a look first, Annie, at the first Trump comparing himself to Jesus Christ, and then we'll do the Paula White as well.
On Palm Sunday, Jesus entered Jerusalem as crowds welcomed him with praise, honoring him as king. They call me king now. Do you believe it? No king. I'm such a king, I can't get a ballroom approved. It's pretty amazing, right? I'm a king. If I was a king, we'd be doing a lot more. I'm doing a lot, but I could be doing a lot more if I was a king.
Also, and I see you, Strident Conservative, shameless plug. I've got a great article coming up on Monday about these Christian frauds. I am going to look for that, Strident Conservative. So here you have Donald Trump comparing himself to Christ, that he is, he's likened as a king now. And Paula White reiterated that sentiment with one of her statements. Go ahead and roll that tape, Annie.
But the truth of it is you are here because of God and because of you. And I just wanted to share this thought and pray over President Trump. Jesus taught us so many lessons through his death, burial, and resurrection. He showed us great leadership, great transformation requires great sacrifice. And Mr. President, no one has paid the price like you have paid the price. It almost cost you your life. You were betrayed and arrested.
Oh my gosh.
And falsely accused. It's a familiar pattern that our Lord and Savior showed us. But it didn't end there for him, and it didn't end there for you. God always had a plan. On the third day, he rose, he defeated evil, he conquered death, hell, and the grave. And because he rose, we all know that we can rise. And sir, because of his resurrection, you rose up. Because he was victorious, you were victorious. And I believe that the Lord said to tell you this. Because of his victory, you will be victorious in all you put your hand to.
Unbelievable. First of all, she says that you are here because of God and because of you. So she is making Trump equivalent to God in that statement. We remember in the release of the design for the Trump library, Trump has, created a room where a golden statue of himself will be erected. Okay. We have Paula White here saying that Trump has suffered the same types of things as Jesus Christ, and he will rise again like Jesus Christ, making an equivalent between Trump and Christ. As I mentioned in another video, she said in the statement that the Holy Spirit came down and told her that God wants to thank Donald Trump for what he's doing here on earth. This is insane. This is absolutely, positively insane. There is no rooting whatsoever within biblical scripture that underscores any of this. And Paula White is a complete and utter heretic. She is a complete heretic and likely demon possessed. Because if you see these videos of Paula White, and we're going to run them because this will give you an idea of who this woman is. She is a complete fraudster. She sells to her audience thousands of dollars worth of blessings. She is constantly berating them for money and acting like an utter lunatic. And so, Annie, let's just run. I have 3 videos of Paula White. There are probably dozens more out there of how crazy this woman is. But she is Donald Trump's #1 spiritual advisor. And remember, Donald Trump is on record as saying that he is not a Christian, that he has never sinned, that he does not need to repent for anything. All right. So if they are upholding Franklin Graham and Paula White and any other evangelical or Christian pastor is holding Donald Trump up as an example for Christians, understand that he is not a Christian. He actually has refused to become a Christian. So this is disgusting. This is heretical. And this is Paula White. Go ahead, Annie. Let's run those back to back. This is Paula White blowing on her congregation. Blow out demons, I guess, or blow in blessings. I can't hear it, Annie.
Hey! Now! Now, in the name of Jesus, and fire, 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 fire,
Crazy.
fire.
I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of shouting and singing. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. For I hear victory, 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 victory in the corridors of heaven. In the corridors of heaven, victory, 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 victory. Victory, victory. For angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now.
I believe that when you honor God on Passover, starting on April 12th at sundown through Good Friday on the 18th and concluding on Easter Sunday, you can receive these 7 supernatural blessings for you and your house. According to Exodus 23, God will assign an angel to you. He'll be an enemy to your enemies. He'll give you prosperity. He'll take sickness away from you. He will give you long life. He'll bring increase in inheritance, and he'll give a special year of blessing. You're not doing this to get something.
And then she went on to tell her audience that you have to pay like $1,200 to get your spiritual blessing. So sign up right now, pay $1,200, and you'll get your spiritual blessing. There are videos all over. I wish we had the end of that statement. That was probably the wrong clip that I used. But this woman... Oh, so Annie, that's okay. Annie cut it off because she didn't want to promote her URL. Do not sign up for Paula White's spiritual blessings, okay? So even though we're going to put the URL up, I mean, we want to hear the pitch though, like how deceptive and disgusting she is to her audience. These are people in pain. These are people who are coming to her for spiritual guidance. She's bastardizing the Bible in a million different ways. It's absolutely disgusting, but this is her pitch to her audience.
But you're doing it in honor to God, realizing what you can receive.
For your special Passover offering of $1,000 or more as the Holy Spirit leads, you will also receive the beautiful 10-inch Waterford Crystal Cross. Don't miss your moment to release 7 supernatural blessings and provision into your life.
I'm sorry, not $1,200, $1,000. For $1,000, you can get Paula White's spiritual blessings. This is, yes, I see you. Yeah, Future as what a complete scam. Unbelievable. And so this is probably why Trump is losing his mind. This is probably why everything seems so crazy, because there are crazy people in positions of power, absolute lunatics. And this is why my next guest is so important. Levi Leatherberry is going to join us in just a couple minutes after the break because, well, they've lost their damn minds in Washington, D.C. I think it's quite evident to everyone out there. And listen, I'm picking on Republicans today, but when Biden was in office, I mean, they dragged around his corpse for 4 years and tried to call him a president, and everyone realized that he had also lost his mind. And so we're in the age of mad kings here in the United States of America. and they are wreaking havoc for regular people. It's why we have to, from the bottom up, push back, organize, and revolt, and build new systems that honor our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, the founding of this country, basic human decency, and common sense. And this is what Levi Leatherberry is doing. I cannot wait to introduce you to him. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring in Levi and spend the rest of the show with him to discuss everything that he is doing over at We the People Party. So we'll be back in a moment to introduce you to Levi. Keep it tuned right here. We'll be back in a minute. Please head over to theshannonjoy.com, theshannonjoy.com. This is my independent platform. It is my website. I own it. And the email list that I have created with all of you, those of you who have signed up for the Shannon Joy daily email, it is so important. It's the most critical element in terms of my connection to all of you. Should I be deplatformed on YouTube or Twitter or Rumble or any of the platforms that we are pushed out on today, it is my one line to all of you. It's where I can contact you directly and let you know where to find the show. I will never forget the censorship of 2020. I was permanently suspended on Twitter. I was completely shadow banned on Facebook. I lost the entirety of both audiences in the span of 30 days. In the early days of the Shannon Joy Show, I was completely yanked off of a radio station because I continued to critique Donald Trump, and it was a right-wing radio station. Overnight, I lost my entire platform. Thank God 10 years ago, or was 8 years ago, I had built up a presence on Twitter and Facebook and was able to continue the show until I moved it to another platform, a 50,000 watt radio station just down the road. But I am very familiar with being deplatformed and it happening very fast. That email list is everything. It is my pipeline to all of you. So if you haven't signed up for the SJ email list, please do so today. Go to theshannonjoy.com. That is theshannonjoy.com, and make sure that we're connected. Hey everyone, I am so proud to recommend Shift Gold to this audience as the gold standard for metals purchasing and investing. I couldn't ask for a better partner to help people understand gold and silver and use them as strategic instruments to protect their family's financial future. Peter Schiff's teaching on markets has shaped my understanding of how economies grow and why they collapse. And I've used them as a critical source for my daily broadcast for over 10 years. The Shannon Joy Show audience already knows and loves Peter because he has been such a treasured educator over the years. He is now the preeminent source for rock-solid financial analysis around the world. And this is because he understands the immutable laws of natural markets and his stalwart unwillingness to veer from absolute truths regardless of economic fads and political pressures. Bottom line, he doesn't sell out. And that means a lot to me. I trust Shift Gold, and you can too. Go to shiftgold.com/joy today to get started. You'll find some of the lowest spot prices for gold and silver and critical information on protecting your retirement savings with a gold or silver IRA. That's www.shiftgold.com/joy. Hedge against the chaos with our friends over at Shift Gold. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. You guys are going to love Levi Leatherberry. He is my next guest on the SJ Show. And in this next segment, we're going to talk about rising up, fighting back, organizing, exiting the two-party political system, dumping Washington, D.C., throwing the bastards out, and taking back our country. The way to do that is through decentralization and massive nationwide organization from the local level. It's something that I have been banging the drums on for over 10 years here on the Shannon Joy Show. We exited the fake two-party paradigm over 10 years ago, and we have never looked back. And it's taken the country a long time to catch up because we're usually at the tip of the spear in these type of things here at the SJ Show. But Levi has been working on this for quite some time. So here's a little background. He is a Eugene, Oregon farmer. He's independent. He's a fierce advocate for liberty, decentralization, and getting the money and the corruption out of politics. In 2022, Levi ran as an independent libertarian candidate for Oregon's 4th congressional district, and he stepped up to challenge the establishment and give voters a real alternative to the usual two-party machine. He's a strong voice for bottom-up solutions, local control, and putting power back into the hands of people instead of distant bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., who are catering to special interests and are, as I mentioned in the last segment, Levi, absolutely batshit crazy. Okay, I think we all just need to now acknowledge that we have madmen running things in Washington, D.C. It makes your organization all the more important. Levi serves as the chair of the We the People Party, and he's continuing to fight to build a genuine independent movement that transcends the broken uniparty system. So you can follow him on the Twitter. His handle is at Levi_LCL. And please go to WTPnational.com. That's the website for We the People Party. He has a ton of ideas and a great philosophy. And Levi, welcome to the SJ Show. It's been way too long. I've been watching your work for quite some time, and I'm glad you're here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's great to talk to you.
So I heard you were farming this morning before you came on the SJ
Yeah,
Show.
yeah. It turns out it's hard to make money as a small farmer in America. Who knew?
Yeah, right.
It's almost like everything's rigged against us. But yeah,
Well, you're on the front lines here, and we know that they're coming for the farmers. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to the philosophy that you hold today, and what you have done to begin to organize. Because this is everything. You are an example of everything that I've talked about over the last 10 years, and I want people to learn from you and understand kind of what your organization is doing. You have been really helpful behind the scenes for candidates like Tom Massey, which is super exciting. I'd like to talk about that a little bit. And then maybe in context of the data centers, we can gameplay how people can organize, come together, and fight back against some of the worst aspects of what is coming in their own communities. So that's kind of my agenda for the show. How does that sound to you?
that's perfect. That's
Okay.
perfect.
All right. Tell us about yourself.
So farming's hard. So in order to pay for it, my folks traveled a lot when I was little because they were teachers, and Americans also don't pay teachers very well. And so
Mhm.
like they had to travel abroad in order to get a decent salary to keep the place going. And when we were doing that, I actually grew up in the Middle East and the Gulf Arab countries, which are now being bombed. Which is ironic. This is the only part of the world where you can solve a fight with a slap, and yet somehow they're supposed to be the scariest people in the world. And like and so after living in these countries, I was in Asia quite a long time, all around the world, a lot of traveling, and I would grow up and I'd start doing like projects in these countries to try to help the local people because I was in high school and in university there. I would try to do what I could to get experience as I was coming up in the world. And all our projects, they'd be really wonderful. We'd be helping a lot of people, and then they'd get like a call from DC or from Washington. They'd basically shut it down overnight. And these be like country level projects or huge regional projects affecting
Yeah.
a lot of people. I'm just trying to clean water. I'm just trying to fix villages. And they're like, keep shutting us down. And I got frustrated with that after years and years of putting all my time and energy into things that get shut down arbitrarily from some central authority in another country in
Mm.
America. And so I came back and I started working in think tanks, got a master's degree in global governance because I understood that's where all the problems are coming from. And then started working in the think tanks in DC and some of the policy centers. And then I realized, okay, none of these policies are going to change unless we change the people,
Mm.
unless the staffing changing. Staffing is policy, because if you don't change the staff, about 98% of the same elected people get in every year. So
Right.
we talk and we fight and we have a million different disagreements over culture war issues, and then we elect the same people over and over and over again,
Right.
and we give them billions of dollars. Like, what was our response to COVID? A
Hmm.
lot of us all across America, across the political spectrum, disagree with how that was managed. And what did we do? We reelected 98.5% of them and gave them hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars and doubled the Pentagon's budget.
Hmm.
So that's our response to
Right.
COVID. They go, take all my money, basically.
Hmm.
And so this is because no matter who you go for in either of the two major parties, as most people know, there's a uni party. And the war machine, the medical stuff, the big farming, big agriculture stuff that devastates small farms like mine, all of these things come from this uni party in DC because there's donors at the head of the parties. And so I was like, okay, well, how do we solve this fundamental problem of money in politics? Because it's so difficult to change things at a high level in DC or in the Supreme Court with Citizens United. That's a constitutional amendment. That's
Mhm.
crazy difficult. So what can we do? And I realized parties was the solution. So I got involved in 2024 with a lot of the candy stuff, with a lot of the Ford Party, the No Labels, all these different third parties that had a lot of funding over the last 4 years,
Mhm.
hundreds of millions of dollars, and yet none of them really have bad access. And
Right.
it's because
Right.
there's this billion-dollar industry about removing independence from the ballot,
Mhm.
right? It's very, very profitable to run 30,000 plus races when you have to pay for each of those races.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a party, you can nominate for free.
Mhm.
So we decided to help people and to push back against DC or these centralized projects we were having all over the world. You really just got to get people together, organize them at the local level, and start running them for all the uncompetitive races all around the country. Because the beauty of this system we have in America is that our corruption is centralized. It's usually in one big city.
Yeah.
You have your capital and your state capital, then you have DC, and they all need approval from DC. Nobody can do anything without approval from DC. And so that makes it very, very difficult to make change on housing, on food, on whether we have clean food or any other policy, because big ag can fire your politicians. Big pharma can fire your politicians, but we can't. So they do the opposite of what we vote them in for, and they get to
Right.
stay there for decades,
Yes.
and we can't fire them. So that's kind of a big problem. So in We the People, you can fire your politicians. You can also, in states like Oregon, that's fusion voting.
Mhm.
So most of the good candidates in the two big parties, who have new ideas or, they're new blood, they haven't been there for 40 years, they always get kicked out in the primaries.
Right.
So after the primaries, usually all the good ones are gone.
Mhm.
So we can nominate after the primaries are over as a third party.
Very
So
cool.
we can, if we find somebody who's anti-war or who's, fighting the good fight for the people that we think is important on, big pharma, big ag, any of these bigs, they're not taking money from these lobbies to run against our interests. We can nominate them. And then you have a real choice in December. You have a real choice in November.
Right, at the local level. Levi, can you speak to the level of collaboration between the Republicans and the Democrats? Because people will throw around the term uniparty. They'll throw around the term, they will kind of acknowledge that the Democrats and Republicans work together. But then invariably, every 4 years or every 2 years, when we have a midterm election or a presidential election, everyone falls back into their silos and they get back behind their candidates and engage in the false choices of rigged elections once again, that pageantry of national elections. It's very hard for people to, I think, really grasp the idea that these two political parties work together in tandem. They pretend to be at each other's throats, but they're all funded by the same special interests. They're all beholden to the same ruling class, the kind of dark, shadowy ruling class that none of us ever see or get to vote for. And they are complicit essentially in running this country into the ground because, of that level of corruption. You were in the belly of the beast. Can you speak to, with examples, how you saw these two parties working together and how closely aligned they are?
Yeah, absolutely. This is such a very, very important point. Even the most politically literate people in America get this wrong usually. Like this is the like Achilles heel of the American empire, which is
Right.
that it's basically people don't understand what parties are. They
Mm,
have no idea how a party works. And if they did, they would never say that again in a
mm,
million years. They would never, ever say, go vote in your primary, because
right.
primaries are controlled by parties 100%. If they wanted to say you have to wear a purple hat and spin around 3 times to be their candidate, they can do it.
Wow.
People do not understand. These are corporations that are for profit. right? That's what political parties are in America. There's no national parties. There's just fundraising nationally.
Mm-hmm.
The states are controlled by 3 to 5 people typically. I know I set up dozens and dozens of parties. I set up electoral colleges. I know how these things work.
Mm-hmm.
And even amongst the political class in America, I'd say less than 1% know how any of this stuff works. And
Wow.
that's intentional, because if people understood how the system really worked behind the scenes and how the lawfare works, they would immediately go and make third parties, and then within a couple of years change the funding for the war, the
Wow.
hospitals, the schools, the farming, because you can.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, party leaders coordinate through a donor structure. So there's an informal donor structure. If it was formal, it'd be illegal and they get arrested. So it has to be informal, because it's a crime to rig elections. And so, and every state has different laws on that. Some it's easier, but basically, this donor class talks to the party leadership, and the party leadership uses the donations, kind of like a Nancy Pelosi does in the House.
Mm-hmm.
She uses those donations to get people in line in the party. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, you don't have money to run, right? So even though legally a national party can't actually tell state who to vote for, they often do in practice because of the donation structure.
Okay.
uh, Money is very powerful in politics. And if they say they're not going to pay your entire state because of one guy running for governor, you're probably going to run that person for governor,
Wow.
or you have to hit the streets, or you lose your party status. There's People don't realize a lot of state parties for the Republicans or Democrats go bankrupt all the time. Like, these
Oh my
things are
word.
falling apart at the seams. They've been wildly unpopular for decades. Even with the surge we saw in 2024, go look at some of the Republican parties, or even the major, libertarian green parties, all these parties, go and look at how many people participate. It's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent. And so you have this tiny class of people where you only need 3 to 5 people, generally speaking, to affect 30,000 elections in a state,
Mm.
from governor to school board, because whoever controls the primaries controls who gets to be, voted on. So if you can eliminate people from primaries, you can remove them from backdoor deals. You can coordinate governor and presidential candidates years in advance. I know I get called to do this too. They reach out to third parties because they think we will be the deciding, the kingmakers, the 2 or 3%
Mm-hmm.
they need to just get over the hump.
Right.
And so they'll reach out to us years or months in advance for these candidates. So like, this is a common thing you'll run into if you're a
Yeah.
third party. Is like, you'll see behind the scenes, you're like, oh, they just like openly plan these things. And so
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
and it's easy for them to do. And if they need to change an electoral law, or like how the electoral college works, or super delegates, they can tweak all these things with small groups of people. So that gives us a backdoor into our democracy. The parties are the mechanism of centralized control.
Mm-hmm.
Mega donors don't go around and manually do 30,000 races. They're not going to do that. They have to use the party to then centralize these mechanisms for all these thousands and thousands of races.
Can you explain in as much detail and as simply as possible how 3 to 5 people in a state, let's pretend it's New York State and it's the Republican Party, how
Right.
3 to 5 people in a state can rig the primaries? So essentially, the rigging happens most profoundly in access to even running, right? It's
Yeah.
just the ability to get on a ballot. And so they essentially push out anyone with good ideas, morals, values, common sense, expertise, any type of principles whatsoever. And they choose the most corrupt, the most embedded, the most compliant members of the party, and they force them on the ballot so that people really don't have a choice. But and I think we all kind of see that and understand that. What I've had a hard time with here in New York State is understanding how they do it, like how the mechanism of, because I've been organizing from the bottom up here in New York for 15 years. And I hit a brick wall every single time. We hit a brick wall every single time. We cannot get past the primaries. Once we get past the primaries, we, have trouble getting on the ballot. It's just crazy. So can you explain that in a way that is understandable to people?
Yeah, it's called bylaws. So it's the structure of the party, and most states leave it up to, your leadership to write the bylaws. And if you look at their mechanisms for doing it, it varies state to state. And often the ones that look the most democratic are the least democratic because they're the most susceptible to donor pressure.
Mm,
So the ones that actually let you like vote for the board and vote for the the chair, the vice chair, typically these are the most corrupt organizations because whoever gets the largest, like they just withhold $1 million donation and then all your party kicks you out. So you have like the peer pressure of donors at the top. And
mhm,
so the ones that are the least democratic are usually the easiest to negotiate. It's kind of ironic. It's like you would think that it's the opposite. So you just look at the bylaws. The bylaws delineate the powers of the party. Basically, they're like, how do we structure this thing? Here's the fundamental structure. Here's how we spend the money. Here's how we select the candidates. Here's how we select the issues. And so in our party, what the radical change is that we let members pick those, not the
mm,
party leaders. So typically, a small handful of people who are the treasurer, the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, and some members at large. And then usually they have a board. And
mm.
between these two structures, they're able to like pretty much determine the outcomes for most races. And if they don't like them, they can just fire or replace whoever at any level. And so, it's an easy way to do it. The thing about it is when you actually look at them, they're made to be boring and
Mhm.
exhausting. So when you
Right.
read them, they're never a couple, 2 or 3 pages where they could simply write these things out. They are very ornate and very old and they're like 100. I mean, you got to realize these parties are older than oil. They're
Right.
older than electricity in most states. These guys, they regulated every industry and they got a piece of the oil. They got a piece of all the building contracts. They got a piece.
Okay.
Americans don't know how bad they're getting ripped off by these parties. Like it's
Right.
literally everything in your life. The reason it feels like a monopoly is because it is, and it's
It
coordinated
is.
by parties. And the parties are the mechanism to make monopolies. It's not that there's super rich people who then just buy out the politicians. The politicians take money from the taxpayers, give it to their friends, who then become monopolies on cars or housing or food. And then these people over a generation become the richest people in the country. If you look at the billionaires in America, they all have government connections that
Absolutely.
like early on their contracts, they got like weird deals, like, where they'd have to pay for stuff. So I'll get back really quick to the party structure.
But wait, wait,
Uh,
wait. I want to ask you, what do the middlemen get out of this? So the middlemen, all the party people in the middle, and I know some of the middlemen here in New York, right? And again, to your point, no one shows up to any of these meetings. Republican events are
mhm.
horrifying. They're
Yeah,
horrifying. They're dull, they're boring. It's a bunch of old, decrepit people and
yes,
some young, plucky people who think that they're going to, seize the levers of power, and then a bunch of
yes.
people who think they can change things. I was one of those about 10 years ago. I was a Republican and I came in bright eyed and bushy tailed and actually got ousted. I got ousted because I had a radio show. And I'll tell you what I got ousted for, Levi. I demanded to see the bylaws
Yeah, that's a
publicly
crime. No,
publicly and
yeah,
i and
that's
i
not a good
i was like
idea.
a dog on a bone with it for like a year, and all the party people coming in, Shannon, shut up about the bylaws, shut up about the bylaws. I'm like, why can't we see the bylaws? A girlfriend of mine and myself both got kind of ousted out of everything. This is when they dumped us because we demanded to see the bylaws and they never released them. They're secret. The rules say that the people, whoever they are, who run the party, whoever that is, keep the bylaws right here like they're precious, right? And you can't ever see them. I remember thinking, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my
Yeah,
entire life. And that's when I became an independent. But that's,
yeah,
another story. So what do the middle people get in all of this? Because they're
not
not
much.
wealthy. They're not, I mean, do they get contracts? Do they get payouts? Do they get protection? Like, what is it?
No, they don't really get anything. You don't have to give them anything. They'll do it. And if they don't,
Crazy.
you replace them. There's a bunch of people who like want to move up in politics and you use their hope and aspirations to crush them.
Yes,
And
you
so
do.
what
I've
you
seen that a
do is
million
you
times.
just dangle, oh, you can make change because I don't want to criticize the volunteers or the people like you who try to make genuine change. They're doing everything they can. And
Yes.
everywhere you look online, AI can't even help you because there's no public resources for the 3,000 different county rules. So there's nowhere you can go. And the county websites are usually broken and don't have it they don't fix
Unbelievable.
them, even though they spend hundreds of millions on them. So basically, there's nowhere you can go to even know who's running. Like, you know how hard it is to
Crazy.
find out who's running in a state? Like it's mind-blowingly difficult. Some states will give you a list, but it's not a comprehensive list. And there's a lot of 100, 300K jobs that with government benefits that are never announced in a way that anybody knows that they voted for. You can vote for funeral directors. How many people have voted for a funeral director?
No
right?
way.
Right.
Really?
Like
I didn't
there's
know
all
that.
these positions that we've been voting for and giving them infinite money to, and we don't even know they exist. And that's my point is that I'm kind of getting on a few tangents here because it's hard to explain 3 or 4 things that most people aren't aware of. So I'll go back to the bylaws really quick before I go on to the other elements that will kind of explain it in a larger picture. The bylaws is talking about the bylaws is the quickest way to get kicked out of a party, right? That's
Hmm.
like the fastest way to piss people off in politics and be removed. The reason why is it's the how you control in a democracy all the elections. Like without this mechanism, you cannot coordinate hundreds of thousands of races over years. Like it's not possible. Even the billionaires won't even touch that. Just so you know, the most of the billionaires and millionaires, we talk about a lot of money in politics, but we're only talking about 5 to 7% of races.
Hmm.
We're not talking about 90% of races. They only participate for about 120 plus years in 5 to 7% of races.
Interesting.
And so if you change your bylaws for free, you can challenge all the money in America because you can run people in 10%, 20% of races and bankrupt every known political donor in the country on all sides. And that's why nobody talks about bylaws. Nobody talks about these mechanisms.
Wow.
And they're like, oh, because think about this. Like if you start a party, in some states it's much easier than others. Some are much. New York's much harder than like Florida or PA or something like this. Like there's states that are much more manageable. It's usually the Midwest where they
Hmm.
haven't had a lot of competition. It's
Hmm.
usually the coasts are much harder because they're
Yeah.
highly populated and they have more third parties. So they rig it more in order to keep us out. But because otherwise, if they lose New York, you can never run a president again without permission of third parties.
New
Right? It's
York is
impossible.
insane. New York is the most corrupt state politically. Both parties
California's pretty
working
bad.
together. And I would say California, but I mean, and I've witnessed it firsthand.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's
Oh yeah,
insane.
no.
It's like the
If the more you
mafia.
yeah, no, the more you get involved in this stuff, you go, oh, that's why everything's broken. You're like, oh, like we can't do any policy on any topic and mysteriously, like how long have people been talking about funding our schools or our food, like getting better food or farmers, like helping the
Yeah.
farmers? We hear that every year for our entire life, and not one topic goes to small farmers.
Right. Right.
Farmers means bankers who
Right.
own the farms. They're going, we got to bail out the farmers, which means like Wall Street. That's what they're talking about and their
Hmm.
donors. And so I'll get back to the bylaws once more because it's a very boring issue, but it's a very important issue. And so if you run a party like We the People, where anybody from any background can fight with us, we just have to not be corrupt, not be bought and sold, not take money from
Right.
the problem while you're running for that position. It's a
Okay.
very humble requirement, but it's very important to have somebody
Right.
not bought on the ballot. Guess
Hmm.
what? Now you can run in any race in the blues to blues, the reddest of reds, everywhere in between, because these people have no competition. Like the vast
Interesting.
majority of these races have zero people running against them. And all the existing third parties, no offense to them, I work with them all the time. They kind of set it up behind the scenes where they don't run in most
Hmm.
races, where they're going to do damage or shake the boat. I'm like, how do you make
Oh yeah.
change to billion-dollar systems without shaking the boat? I'm like, okay, well, you don't want to upset big pharma, big ag, or the military, but you
Right.
want to be a third party. Okay, well, good luck
Yeah.
with that. I think
Mm.
that you're going to do a lot of big work. And so that's the thing is people behind the scenes will not run. They'll make sure that
Oh
we're
yeah.
giving away this country for free.
Oh
So we're
yeah.
not even fighting for this country. Like nobody's fighting. Like
No,
they're
Levi,
just handing it over.
yeah, in New York State, and believe me, everyone, this is important. I know we're like in the weeds just a little bit, but in New York State, they're certainly trying to export the corruption in New York State to every state across America. So
Yes.
what happens in New York is important, and fighting back in New York is important. And I, for one, am not giving up, even though it is incredibly corrupt. But I will tell you, Levi, in New York State, the Republican Party is the fake opposition party. They run to lose every election. There are small carve outs for Republicans to win that are predetermined, and they will win those elections. And every other election that a Republican runs in, they literally flush the money down the toilet. They raise the money and flush it down the toilet in order to keep the balance of power in place. And that is Democrats run everything, Republicans pretend to run against them and whine and cry
Mhm.
about it and try to raise money on it. And anyone who tries to go through the Republican Party to make any real change hits a brick wall hard and fast. And so then they back off and like, okay, maybe we do a third party. But as you pointed out, the third parties also run cover. They end up
Yes.
becoming corrupted because they can run money. And it's this big, massive freaking scam. And
Yeah.
so tell me about we the people and the structure of it. And I want to hear, I mean, if you've had any success stories, like what you how you've organized in different states. What you're saying is that you've made this, you're creating a party that is making this all transparent. You are disclosing the bylaws and you're allowing people to come in and argue everything. Like it's like a full transparency model that you say can actually go up against successfully the two-party political behemoth and also even the false third parties. So can you explain how that works? And
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
We're actually not super open about the bylaws, and the reason
Oh,
why there's called bylaw people, which
okay.
is a class of volunteers. No, I mean you can. We're we're 100%. This is our selling point, and
You
we
can
talk
read.
to all our leaders about it.
Right.
Publicly facing, you have to have a different discussion. You have to have a discussion about corruption, and running
Hmm.
candidates who aren't bought, and running people of a diversity of views, ideological diversity views. In our party,
Yeah.
we don't have an ideological purity test. Like if you're libertarian or green, guess what? They get to run libertarians and greens. That's a
Hmm.
tiny fraction of Americans on
Yeah.
any issue. It's not the majority. And so what you it makes it so you can't have these internal coalitions. You can't have, in one city on the south side, a very liberal person running where housing projects are in the poor areas of like Chicago, like south side, they're really focused on housing. On the northern side, they're focused on business and they have more conservative leaning problems because they have red tape problems with all the business centers they have. And so they have two different issues in the same city. You can run a more conservative leaning candidate and a more liberal leaning candidate in the same city and this party
Interesting.
structure because that's what the people want in that neighborhood. So, voters get to vote. That's the revolutionary concept that we have is that
Wow.
if you're a voter and you're in this area and you're a member of our party, you get to vote for whoever you want. And as long as they serve you, serve the people, and they actually follow through. And if they don't, you fire them. And if you
Interesting.
follow this process, the golden rule, treat others as you want to be treated, that's the solution to most issues across the board and to most political issues. It's not that we're not smart enough to solve all problems, it's that we're paid not to, right? This all
Interesting.
the financial incentives are for us to not fix hospitals, to not fix farms, to not fix our schools. And so all you have to do is allow people to vote for the top 5 issues in their communities, whether it's the neighborhood, the city, the county, or the state, and then they get to pick all these tens of thousands of leaders manually with no party leader rigging it, no PAC able to come in because the PACs use the party leadership structure. So if
Right.
you
But
don't have
I'm
party leaders,
we're in the weeds a little bit here. I'm not understanding basically what you're saying. So you're saying We the
oh,
People Party picks the top five issues that
yeah,
people want in a certain region and then allows people to come in and run under the party as long as they're not corrupt, as long as they're
yep,
not beholden, they're not taking, sneaky money. And then that puts them on the ballot somehow in the
yeah, we nominate them and they get to run for free. The biggest cost to new people is ballot. So if you don't run the two parties, it's about 80 to 90% is on ballot.
So what you're saying is that We the People Party has the ability and the mechanism to put people on a ballot.
Yep, and save them most of their money and to make their life
Interesting.
so much easier because they have to, most people don't know, they have to run 2 races. They have to run a race to even get on the ballot to be voted on, which is
Right.
80 to 90% of the battle. And then the 10% of letting people know they exist. So by taking that away and giving people a nomination from any category, any candidate who's good, by being able to nominate them, you make it possible for them to focus on getting their name out there and their
Okay.
ideas out there.
I have some other questions for you. Is this up and running in certain places?
Yeah.
And are there distinguishing results that we can point to? And I have some questions from the audience as well. And these are harder
Absolutely.
questions, and they're questions that I want to have answered. Mod Trend is saying we're not going to vote ourselves out of this mess, in my opinion, and I tend to agree with that. We also have people asking about voting machines and AI and voting being rigged. If we don't have receipts and paper ballots and that type of thing, why are we going into the system again to try to change it electorally when we don't necessarily have to do that? I mean, the country was founded. Country's not a democracy. it has a little bit of democracy in it. The country is a constitutional republic, and we fought and earned our freedom, our liberty, and our constitution without elections, without political parties, without ballots, without election machines. So why would we be diving into another kind of corrupt system? So those are the two kind of questions I want to get to, but I would like to hear about discernible outcomes. What have you guys been able to do in other states, and have you achieved a victory using this method?
So we're like 1 year old, so we're pretty new.
Okay.
So our
All right.
biggest victory is getting on the ballot, because that's
Okay.
very difficult to do, and it usually costs
Yes,
hundreds of millions of dollars.
it
And
is.
we're able to expand for free. So we use our volunteers to build these parties. Coming out of the sort of Maha Kennedy 24 campaign, a lot of them who still want to be independent, wanted to make a party that focused on these issues for the people from both right and left issues. We decided to do our own thing and to run these parties, and building this infrastructure allows us to collaborate in coalition with anybody good across the political spectrum and run them
Okay.
for free. And
How,
so
now, how
that's
are
been
you
our
being
main
funded?
focus.
Yeah, how are you? This is
No,
a
we're
big
not being funded.
operation.
That's the point.
Okay.
And so
Tell me.
we're our part. We want membership dues and membership fees. A
Okay.
lot of PACs in political organizations typically are a large mega donor set up
Mhm.
parties. So from day one, they literally ask you, and it's not they're pretty clear about it, that they want to
Mhm.
pick the candidates, especially president and governors and stuff. And so
Sure, sure.
we don't want that. We want our members selecting everybody. So
Okay.
we can't be open to these negotiations. So we
Right.
don't take that money. We've actually not been, we've been focused solely on ballot and running people for free,
Mhm.
um, and not just getting large donations from single donors. We've had to turn a lot of that down.
Okay.
And we're looking for member funded states,
Okay.
who then select their leaders by the people. And it's not run by centralized funding mechanisms. And what donations we do, we give down to the states and local organizers.
Okay.
We have
Interesting.
like 4 or 5 people at the top of these things to keep the ballot running, and the lawfare and the websites and the databases. But the real goal is to hand most of that down to the states and the counties to do the voting.
Interesting.
And do you want to address some of the questions that you just mentioned about?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go with Mod Trend first on the live chat. If you guys have questions, please pop them up in all caps on the live chat, and we'll try to get them to Levi. Mod Trend says we're not going to vote ourselves out of this mess. In my opinion, your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a very common thing coming out of 2024. I hear that, Jimmy DeForest say a lot. A lot of these people say that all the time. It's
Hmm.
very disheartening, because it's like the new Fed talking point is like, oh, let's just give up all hope and be decentralized. The problem with that is that that's pretty much the dream of Washington, D.C., is to have everybody atomized into different groups and buckets that are easily, it's like the ultimate divide and conquer.
Mhm.
Because you're literally dividing and conquering yourself now for
Right.
free. Usually they used to pay to get us to do that and
Hmm.
manipulate us and sue us, but now we're going to do it for free. And so that's great. And so that I understand it completely. It's a legitimate emotion. They're right about so many things, because these are usually the most educated people who have this conclusion. They know all about the system. They're very well informed.
Right.
And then what they see is no hope, because they understand how bad it is, right? And so I'm not disagreeing with them on a lot of those points. What I would say is I actually grew up, and a lot of this model comes from like South Asia and working in some of those corrupt countries in the world. Guess what? The corrupt people have to coordinate, and that you got to
Mm.
fight how they coordinate with your coordination. No matter what system you're in,
It's
whether it's a
true.
democracy or dictatorship.
Yeah.
I worked in countries with dictatorships. You still have to get people together and coordinate policy and candidates and agree on basic values.
Right.
If you don't do that, and the decentralized party has that minimalist infrastructure
Right.
where it doesn't force down your throat DC talking points and who you should do, and moralizing from on high, where politicians tell you what to think and feel in
Right.
your town and your community. But at the same time, we have all the infrastructure to make it scalable, because
And
the
yeah.
problem with not having a system is you can't scale. So this
Yeah.
is often, and I don't mean to keep interrupting you there, but basically this happens with ballot. So this is the same problem we have with ballot, which is that if you try to run independent candidates without a party, you bankrupt yourself. You're basically
Yeah.
having no strategy, whereas this uni party or the two major parties running against you can run for free. And they can
Right.
run 90% of the candidates with no opposition, with no money. And guess what? You're having to pay to get on the ballot 80 to 90% of your fees. We're talking about tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees for signatures. What they do is they increase the signature requirement, And then
Yeah.
they ban write-in voting. With that, you need
Yeah.
approval to write in your vote, which means you have to pay to organize for each race to get the signatures to get on the ballot to even get it
Mhm.
voted on. So
Mhm.
that's the trick. They run up the cost for us, and then they make it free to oppress us and very expensive to fight for against them. And so we have to have a scalable, free system of fighting back, so that we put the costs on them, and they literally have to pay to try to take this country from us.
Yeah.
That's how you fight. It's not by getting in
Well,
different groups.
and I'm going to agree with you, Levi, in this sense. I am the kind of gal who's never going to call someone else's baby ugly, right? And I think that what we are dealing with here in the US, it's all hands on deck. Every citizen from their own corner of the world, according to your own unique talents and abilities, needs to be doing or engaging in something regarding civics. And that is the citizen becoming active in what is happening in their own community, within their four walls, they're within their family and in their community organizations. Now, some people want to get involved politically, mod trend. Some people want to try to activate in the electoral system with voting, with parties and that type of thing. And that's according to their unique talents and abilities. Other people are going to activate in other areas. You can activate in your churches, in your local communities. You can, activate in charitable situations. You can refuse to comply. You can build organizations. So what we're not saying today is that Levi Leatherberry has the answer to save the world and that this is somehow going to save all of us. What we're saying today is that this is one way. If you want to operate in that area, say you're a member of the Democratic Party or you're a member of the Republican Party and you're high up and you're sick of hitting the brick wall, this could be an option for you if you like that thing. Personally, from my perspective, I hate that stuff and I'm not going to engage in that stuff, but I'm going to use this microphone and organization and civil disobedience and peaceful noncompliance and that type of structure to do my own part. So I think the problem here that we always run up against, people who are resisting the powers that be in these corrupt power structures, is that we want to denigrate everything that everyone else is doing. And we can't do that. We have to allow people to build these things. And then we take a look and say, is this working? Is it isn't working? Is it not working? And so I commend you, Levi, for that, because you do have expertise in this area. And exactly, Mark the Regan, don't be so negative.
Well, I would say that
Montren, Montren
one
says,
of
I agree we have to fight, but I keep my expectations low. I get it. You know what, though?
yes.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. And for those of you who are Christians and believers, right? Like, we are not called to sit on our asses and do nothing. We're not called to stick our head in the sand and just wait for Jesus to return or for the rapture. Like, Jesus gave us the example. We are called to do things. It doesn't have to be the one thing that you might not be excited about, but we are called to do things in our own communities to glorify God. And so whatever it is, we're just presenting one area here. And I think it's great, Levi. I like what you're doing.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say is I was always really frustrated because I worked on a lot of issues on like politics is not very interesting to me.
It's
I got
horrifying.
into it because I had to do it because they kept screwing with all my projects and they kept screwing with everything I wanted to do in life in
Right.
every area. The government is perfectly like capable of preventing you. They don't help you very much, but they're very good at stopping you.
Yes,
And it
they
doesn't matter
are.
what category it is. So I'm like, I have to go to the people who do the stopping to make
Yeah.
change, not to the people who are like doing the right thing and trying to solve problems. I have to go
Right.
to the people who are coordinating billion-dollar machines to crush us.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good place to focus. And also like the unity, so that there's this problem of like kind of an anti-social trend amongst ethical people where they don't coordinate. It's like herding cats and they all kind of attack each other. You see this in a lot of the third
All the
parties.
time.
You
All
see
the
it in all
time.
the both the
Yeah.
two major parties have a lot. They basically have like 8 parties inside of them
Mhm.
that also fight, like the progressives, and they have
Right.
all these different groups that tear each other apart. And
Yeah.
everybody's very good and very eloquent when it comes to tearing each other down. But when it comes to doing any work, any action, anything that actually makes a difference in their state or local community, they don't appear. They're nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
It's just you outside the soup kitchen trying to help, and then nobody helps. And so that
Right.
we have the numbers, we have the money. Like if you look at 2024 and 2022, a lot of these third parties got record funding. They got
Mhm.
hundreds of millions of dollars. Very clear. If you look at any numbers, if you are politically literate and you can read a poll, and I'm not talking about the polls that are like very hyper partisan. I'm talking about like generational polls about where young people are going or where the
Mhm.
trends are going. they're going away from the two major parties. It's
Oh,
a
definitely.
fact. It will
Yeah.
100% happen. It's a matter of when. And the sooner we do it, the sooner we can pull back on the emergency level on some of these funding, because it's about the money. So it's not
Hmm.
about the party, it's about the money. It's about coordinating each other to run for free, to control the richest country in the history of the world, to invest in ourselves. So if we get into these local offices, they all have budgets. They have millions and millions of dollars in budgets, billions in budgets. They have less than 100 people to 1,000 people you got to sign to get the control these buckets of money,
Right.
and then invest in ourselves. We're not, the DC is always going to send money to DC. The
Yeah.
rich, or the mega donors are going to send it to mega donors. The monopolies are going to do it to monopolies. Why? Because they have a party that coordinates all the money from taxpayers being spent on themselves. We have
Right.
to run our own party for ourselves, and then take that money and invest in ourselves and in America and everyday people.
Okay.
If you want to invest at the state level in farms, you can do it. If you want to invest in new healthcare things, you can do it. There's a radical amount of stuff you can do locally without permission. We need to stop sitting around waiting for permission, waiting for one of the big parties to admit they're wrong, and then be like, okay,
They
we're
never
going to
will.
reform, guys.
Yeah.
They will never
Levi,
reform.
right. No, and I think everybody understands there's great frustration among everyone. Everyone sees the corruption. We see that the two parties are working together. We see that
Yeah.
they're absolutely fleecing us. They're plundering. They're running us. They're running the country off a cliff, and it's just insane. So we've got to do something. And sitting back and whining about it is not an option. So we only have a couple more minutes left, Levi, but I do want to ask you about. I mean, where do you think is the best example of this apparatus that you are building in action, where it can be successful? Where do you think that is in the country? Because I want to watch what you guys are doing and see if we can actually get some results there. So I want you to let us know like where that is, and then also how people can get involved in that. And then, you're also working alongside of some of the most independent candidates in the country. You've done a lot for Tom Massey in terms of helping him out. He has the weight of the two-party system coming against him. They are just absolutely pummeling him, trying to take him out, and you're trying to kind of, get behind him and underneath him so that he can run again. So I'd like to just hear an update on that. But first, is as quickly as you can, where do you think we can see some action from We the People Party in the near future?
So we are running governor candidates because some states require governor candidates. We're running a lot of local candidates. Our focus is as
Great.
locally as possible. We're
Love.
hoping to show up in your school boards and your water boards and your utility districts. They control billions of dollars. In California, they run alfalfa for Saudi Arabia. They control global economies from
Right.
local authorities. They've
Yeah.
been fleecing our streets in Chicago and paying with the meters. They're paying Abu Dhabi to build billions of dollars of infrastructure. So like people, they're literally selling the streets out from underneath us. We're going to try
Mhm.
to get with the people on the commissions who run the streets and then put it back into our actually
Love it.
fixing them. And
Love it.
that's where we'll show up. We'll show up in your local elections and the nonpartisan positions. We'll try to run, and support anybody, anywhere. We'll work with anyone to do good and nobody do bad. We're an open coalition. And, wethepeoplenational.com is the website. We have a few parties. We need to build out, we're brand new. We need to build out all over the country. If you
Okay.
want to be a leader, and just come to us and help us build up a ballot so we can run people for free against a machine that wants to take our country from us.
And you are
That's what
running
we'll
people,
do.
right? I mean, you are
Yeah,
on the
no, we
ballot.
are.
Where are
Yeah,
you
we
on the
are.
ballot?
So
And
we're
who
on
are
the
you running?
ballot. So we're on a coalition ballot in about 25 states because that's other parties that will have agreed to run our people because we're
Okay.
new. So we're coordinating. Where we don't have a party, we'll work with an existing group.
Okay.
This is why we work with some of the Republicans and some of the Libertarians in some states and the Greens. But we have our own ballot in Oregon. We have it in Washington. We have it in Florida. We're working on it. We have it in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
We're working on it in New Mexico. We're working on it in Hawaii. We have it all over. We have it all over. But it turns out when you're fighting a $1 billion machine for free, it takes time. Like
Oh,
that's
sure.
the main thing
That's
with doing.
okay.
And so,
That's
but the
okay.
thing is, with our existing infrastructure, we can already run 30,000 races for free.
Very
Right.
cool.
So that's what people don't realize is there's so many races in your state you never hear about because they only
Hmm.
talk about the 1 or 2% they fight over. But if you actually look down the ballot, there's so many races that take nothing to run and to
Hmm.
participate in. And that's the idea I want to get across to people is like this system we have is so fragile. It's so corrupt. It's so top down that they've left the whole thing exposed. And if
Yeah.
we just run enough local people and we fire them if they do a bad job, right? Like that's our
Hmm.
accountability mechanism. but we just have to trust in each other and give each other faith, because usually we're so skeptical of each other. And then the guy who did like 20 wars gets in. I'm like, how
Hmm.
about we be skeptical of
So here's a
him and
question.
then vote for new
Yeah,
people?
we only have a little bit of time left. Here's a question. If Tom Massey gets ousted in the primaries and Donald Trump succeeds in putting the Rhino Republican in his place to run for his seat, could your organization help him get on the ballot?
Yeah, that's what we would hope to do. And we do that for any good candidate in the primary or state
Wow.
structure. So some states don't allow, they have sore loser laws that prevent you, once you've run in a primary, to go and run as the third party. That's a
Hmm.
big issue. It's one of their laws from about 100 years ago, to when they last had a big third party.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would set up parties and then nominate people and to run them, because we can't lose these. All the honest people are getting kicked out of the parties. They're
Yes.
literally being directly punished by the party structure.
Oh, yeah.
They turned off his microphone. The Republicans in Kentucky turned off his microphone. This
Yeah.
is a symbolic thing of how the party's literally fighting against a guy who did the Epstein files, who's good on the wars, who's good on the spending. He's like
Yeah.
good on all the issues that are popular. So you're literally seeing like, this is a microcosm of the larger problem. Massey is symbolic of the party versus the individual. So
Okay.
like, this is why it's not going to work to run thousands of random people who don't coordinate and not build a party. Everybody wants party outcomes, but they don't want to build a third party.
Right.
They're like, oh, I wish we had this thing that would like be
Yeah.
ethical and coordinate and make it easy. But then
Right.
also I want to make it 1,000 times more expensive and not
Yeah.
coordinate. So like, this is the battle we've been having for years behind the scenes. And if people just get on board and go, hey, we don't have to agree on everything, but we have to
Yeah.
agree to fight together for people like Massey, for people who are independent thinkers who actually serve the people. Like, his crime is serving his constituency.
Yes.
Like, that's literally what he's being punished for.
Well,
And this is unacceptable.
yeah, it is unacceptable. And it sounds like what you're building is a parallel system to the electoral system that we have today. This audience understands parallel systems. It's something that I think is critical, whether it's healthcare, education, farming, food production, business, or elections. We have to exit and build. That's what Aaron Day would say. And it's hard to do. Right. And so I'm interested in what you're doing. I'm going to continue to be interested in what you're building, Levi, and I'm looking forward to some success stories. And keep in touch with me and let me know, like, when you get that first win and when you get someone on the ballot and they win and they upset the Democrats and Republicans. I want to have you back on and I want to help you celebrate that, because I think what you're doing is really important. So how can people get involved very quickly, if you can let them know how to get involved? And then we'll let you go, because I have to wrap up this show. We're getting close to the end time.
Absolutely. We are close to the end times. But
Yeah.
no, just joking. But I'm
Don't
just
tell them
joking.
that.
So we have
We might be.
wethepeoplenational.com. We are trying to set up an alternative structure run by the people. We want leaders. We don't want just people who are going to vote and sit there. We want people who are going to participate in their local elections, maybe want to be candidates themselves and want to run, and we can make it cheaper for you by building a party. And so you don't have to run it over and over again with all this money. And so wethepeoplenational.com, just join, apply to be a leader. And we can make it and then pay for trying to take this country from us by making it 1,000 times more expensive by running people in all these local elections that haven't for
Amazing.
100 years been challenged.
I hope that you can do this, Levi. Like, I hope that you can do this, because we could overwhelm them from the bottom up with this
Yes.
strategy. And it's a difficult strategy, and I understand, but I'm rooting for you. And if you guys want to find out more about Levi and his organization, it is linked in the show notes of the SJ Show. Also, make sure that you follow him on the Twitter, and his Twitter account is at Levi_LCL. And the website is WTPnational.com, correct?
Yep.
That's
You got it.
WTPnational.com to get involved and to begin to build that parallel institution alongside our corrupt electoral process. Levi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate having you on the SJ Show. And thank you to all of you for being with me today on the Shannon Joy Show. I want to bring in more people like Levi who are doing things, like I said, everything but the kitchen sink. And it is the ingenuity of the American people from the bottom up, I think, that is going to make a difference as we battle for our future. They have an agenda for us, the big guys, the ruling class, the people who run and control the politicians in Washington, D.C. And it's a terrible agenda. And I don't want that agenda for my children. And so we have to figure out how to do things from the bottom up to throw wrenches in their plans. And there are a million ways to do it. And we're going to present all of those ways to you here on the SJ Show every so often, because it can't be gloom and doom every single day and lamenting everything that they're doing to us. We have to begin to develop agency. And that is why I'm very proud and thankful for what Levi is doing. So we're going to wrap the show up. Please join me tomorrow. We are going to do Coffee and the Bible with Shannon Joy for Rumble Premium members. For those of you who want to come together around 9:30, usually we start tomorrow morning. We'll start live on Rumble right here, and then we'll go behind the paywall in about 10 minutes or so and do our Bible study. We're in the book of Daniel. And I really enjoy these times with all of you, very special. And I'm really enjoying getting to know all of you on that live event. So that is tomorrow in the AM. And I do, before we wrap up the show, want to point you to a link in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. We just put this together. I met the most amazing couple. They just touched my heart in a million ways at the Summit for Truth and Wellness 2 weeks ago with William Makis and Sasha Latapova, Delvin and Freddie Montero. Never have I been more inspired by a woman and her love for her husband, who is suffering a terrible cancer diagnosis and has just been in and out of the hospital, desperate for answers. They came to the summit and I was just so touched by them. Young family, and they need our help. So, I have been talking with Freddie and Delvin over the past week and about, helping them with protocols to complement the chemo and the radiation. Delvin's husband, Freddie, is suffering with very, very serious cancer. And I've decided that I would also like to help them raise some money, not a ton, but they're a small family. They're very young, and Freddie is so sick. I mean, he's the breadwinner. His wife, Delvin, is doing everything she can to save them. And I asked her to put together and set up a Give, Send, Go for them as they now go down this journey. They do have a protocol for ivermectin and fenben and menben. And I'm going to be working with them to get as many resources as I possibly can. They got connected to so many great resources at the summit, but they do need some financial resources as well, and prayers. And so Delvin set up a Give, Send, Go. And Annie is going to pop that link up in the live chat and also on the show notes. It is in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. I would love for you guys to pop on there, read their story. I've met them personally and I've been working with them. I just want to try to help them as much as I can. So if it is in your heart to join the prayer team or even give them some financial help, it would be so appreciated. And that Give, Send, Go, it's givesendgo.com. Do you believe in miracles? Givesendgo.com. Do you believe in miracles? Such a faithful and amazing, amazing couple. And I just want to wrap them up in so many prayers and support as they face this very difficult battle. So you're going to be hearing more from them and about them in future weeks as I follow some of their progress. But that is givesendgo.com/do you believe in miracles. And Annie is going to pop that up into the live chat and also at the top of the show notes in the comment section as well. Thank you guys so much for being with us today. Thank you to our sponsors. We will be back tomorrow morning for our Bible study and then on Monday to do it all again right here on the Shannon Joy Show.